2. It's the annual Reading the Annie nominations. The award show will celebrate its 50th run. I'm very excited to tell you about the movies and shows that got nominated this year. So let's get to it. So for Best Feature, we got Turning Red, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Wild and Wild. I'm very happy with this. Unfortunately, I have not watched The Sea Beast, but other than that, Turning Red was absolutely fun. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I will talk so much more about this movie down the road, but can I just stress to you, stop motion this year has had such a great comeback, and this movie is one of the prime examples of stop motion being such a beautiful way in executing storytelling. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, one of the biggest surprises that came out of DreamWorks, because I was expecting another sequel, but man, these people said, oh, we're cranking it up a notch. And animation-wise was great, story-wise was great, everything about this movie, 10 out of 10. Wild and Wild, another great comeback return from Henry Selick. I was able to see this movie and meet the man himself. Consider this the brand new Halloween classic that we're all gonna watch every year. I'm actually looking forward to anybody winning. I mean, personally, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I feel like it might get the win, but either way, everybody who can win this, I'm happy for. Have I seen any of these? Wait. I did watch Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I know people debate that this isn't really considered animation because humans are shown. I guess if the Annies allowed it, that's fine, but in my personal opinion, there's a certain level to it. Examples like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I know it's live action and animation hybrid, but I don't consider it a fully animated movie since most of the environment and people takes place in live action. Then you get something like Avatar, which relies on motion capture. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing for the movie, but like how much of the movie relies on animation to build the story, and then how much of live action footage from the actors do they rely on? So it's a mixed bag. I have not seen any of the other films, but based on what I've seen in trailers, these all look beautiful. I kind of root for My Father's Dragon, yet I root for anybody in this nomination. I'm highlighting Best TV/Media Preschool because shows like Spirit Rangers and Rise Up Sing Out are nominated. Mainly representation. I haven't checked out the other shows, but I hope they have the same thing too. I'm happy that there are kids who are watching new animated programs that cater to them, but also representing their culture and identities, so that's really big to me. Best TV/Media for Children. Okay, stop the presses. The Owl House is nominated. Woo! I don't know if you saw the finale. It was insane. I am still pissed that Disney not only shortened their season 3, but gave them 3 one-hour specials. Not really a full story to conclude, but I guess it's okay. I want to stress I'm not mad at Disney as the animation studio, more the corporate side. Either way, this show is absolutely remarkable, and I can't wait to see them finally get this win. I really want them to win the most. Okay, so I think the Best TV/Media for general audiences changed now to Best TV/Media for mature audiences. And I'm only happy for Tuca and Birdie's The Pain Garden. Now, I am very pissed that the show is also canceled by Adult Swim. What the fuck? I am grateful we got 2 more seasons, but I wish we had more. Pain Garden is a great episode because it talks about the importance of women facing health issues, but also not getting a proper diagnosis despite the pain that they experience. It's a wonderful episode inside and out through its animation and writing, and I really hope it wins because it truly deserves something. Not to say the other shows on here are bad, well, except for one. Ooh, we have a new category, Best TV/Media Limited Series. So I think this is just for shows that have a 1 season and done. I'm only familiar with Baymax, and if it's the episode I think it is the episode that deals with periods. Yay! Once again, we are winning this year. Checking on the other shows, okay, don't explain to me how Housebrook is nominated because I don't think it's a limited series. I thought it was just another crappy adult animated show like it is. I learned about El Defo because of my comic book class. Cece Bell's story of her deafness and adapting it for children and adults to enjoy is fantastic. It makes me smile knowing that Cece's story is resonating with so many people, and another example of showing the importance of representation. I love the art style of Oni. It's so cute. Undone is a show I haven't got a chance to check that out. This is created by Raphael Bob Wakesberg, who have worked on BoJack Horseman, but I do like that rendering rotoscope of animation. Best effects in a feature. I'm only rooting for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Everybody else, I do not care for. We get to Best Character Animation TV/Media. I have not watched Intergalactic. I was so stoked to see that it resembles a lot from Into the Spider-Verse, which is incredible. Best Character Animation in a Feature. Okay, we got 2 nominations. Okay, we got double the double nominations, if that makes sense, because there's 2 nominations for Turning Red, 2 people are nominated for The Bad Guys, and 1 nomination for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I like the way that the characters look in Turning Red. It has a very wonderful squishy feel to it, not to mention the anime effects. I love that. For Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, what I absolutely love about the characters is the way that they express their feelings and emotions, especially when they cry, because sometimes when characters cry, it's like tears fall over or like stream down their face. The tears build up in their eyes and slowly fall down. There's a lot of care that goes into the way that these characters express themselves. Okay, we're gonna highlight Bad Guys on here. Okay, DreamWorks really outdid themselves with the movies that they did. Bad Guys aesthetically is so wonderful to watch. It's cartoony and they utilize that with their CG, which makes it so unique to stylize, and it's not stiff. I love it, especially when you look at their eyes and the way that they express themselves. It's such a fun movie about these animals who are supposedly the bad animals you hear about, but trying to turn good. Simple, yes, but extremely effective because of the aspects of the movie with its animation and so on. Best character animation video game. Yes! Cuphead, the delicious last course! And what I like about Cuphead's animation, taking the 1920s, 1930s rubber hose animation style, but being so effective for the game. I'm also rooting for God of War Ragnarok. I heard good things about that game. Best character design TV/media. Amphibia, the hardest thing! Oh my gosh, we are back one more time. I don't care what anybody says. I know people were hating on the show, but Amphibia was awesome. And the hardest thing, what a beautiful way to wrap up a story. I should talk about the show eventually. I guess we'll go on a list of videos I gotta make in the future. Alright, best character design in a feature. Okay, why is Luck nominated? I want to stress by saying I mean no hate to the cast and crew that works on this movie. I bet they did a wonderful job. I'm more upset about the certain person in this movie. You can clearly tell based on the animations that they worked on from a previous studio, but they got kicked out of that studio. That's not important though, because Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is on here. Yes! Character design, my gosh, this movie was filled with wonderful designs of characters. Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, the movie. I'm also happy that this movie excelled because I've seen clips. Wow! Best direction TV/media. I'm still rooting for Baymax because periods, once again, let's normalize talking about it. Let's not make kids feel weird about it. It's a natural thing. I'm also happy to see Daisuke Suzumi is nominated as well. He was also a recipient of the Winston McKay Awards in the 48th Annies. We get the best direction in the feature. This is tough because I root for everybody in this category. Domichi has already talked so much about the importance of culture within her works, such as Bao, but she also wanted to establish the mother-daughter relationship in her culture as well with Turning Red, and I love that. I love what she does in this movie. I like that she writes her own experience growing up in Canada as well. Then you have Guillermo del Toro and Mark Farson. If I said that name wrong, I apologize. These two were able to tell the story of Pinocchio but make it more dark and serious with the Italian fascism era, but also the importance of grievances. It is so beautiful to see. The directors for Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. All of them have excelled in stop motion if you check their works. And what I really love about this movie is that I didn't feel anything was wasted in the film. I felt like everything had to happen the way it did need to happen, the way that it sets the tone for things, the way that they allow things to be intimate, public. I felt like this movie really took the time to care for that type of stuff. Nora was also wonderful. While I haven't watched My Father's Dragon, I did watch The Breadwinner, and that movie was stunning. I still need to check more of her work, but regardless, knowing Cartoon Saloon, I bet their animation is amazing. And then we got Henry Selick for Window to the Wild. Guys, it's been 13 years since Henry Selick directed his last film, which was Coraline back in 2009. Nothing but greatness from all these directors, but ooh, I just can't decide. Best music in a feature. This is tough. The soundtrack for Turning Red is absolutely wonderful. I mean, Four Town has to be the best fictional boy band in history. Okay, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I was surprised that this was a musical. I'm not saying the songs were bad. I definitely love Ciao Papa, My Son. I haven't watched Mad God, and this movie looks interesting, and I bet the score emulates the same thing, and that's cool. Bad Guys actually has a good score too, but it's a tie between Turning Red and Pinocchio. Best production design for TV/media. Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. I'm highlighting it. Best production design in a feature. Oh, come on. You know what? This is hard. I don't like this. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio has such wonderful production. Based on the images I've seen of Mad God, I bet production was wild. And Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was incredible. And then Bad Guys, and I still haven't watched Sea Beast, but ooh, I don't know. Best storyboarding in a feature. Okay, this is similar to that last category. Double the nominations for the same film, if you catch my drift. Minions: The Rise of Gru was nominated twice, then you have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and you have 2 nominations for Strange World. If it were up to me, I would pick Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but I have to check out the storyboarding for Minions and Strange World to clarify that. Best voice acting for TV/media. These are wonderful voice actors that have been so great in animation. For this category, I feel like they'll give it to Tara Strong because she's playing multiple roles in this as Batgirl, Harley, and Raven, but I love Maurice LaMarche so much as Mr. Big. Again, Maurice LaMarche is a master with impressions, so getting to see his take as the Godfather is very funny to me. Alright, best voice acting in a feature. Oh, this is tough too. Wait, I still feel like they could have picked one or the other, but then again, who would have been the right choice? Because you have Dave Bradley as Geppetto and then Gregory Mann as Pinocchio and Carlo. Because David as Geppetto, there were such grievances in his voice and the beauty when he was so so charmed as a father to Carlo and singing that song and then losing him. It was a lot. And then you have Gregory Mann for Pinocchio and Carlo. He has a wonderful tenderness to his voice, especially when he was singing Child Papa. Such beauty in that. Another great thing too when you have a child actor is that the performance becomes more believable and authentic because it's coming from a kid, right? Then you have Jenny Slate as Marcel the Shell, which she really gave such a wonderful voice. Because when you know Jenny Slate, she plays a lot of obnoxious, annoying characters, so getting to see her play this tiny little shell is very funny. Wagner Moura as Death. I'm surprised because I thought they gave this to Harvey Guillen as Perrito because oh my gosh, was he such a delight in the movie. But you gotta balance that out with the scariness that Wagner gave as Death. Oh my gosh. I root for everybody, but if you told me to pick one, I think Gregory Mann as Pinocchio would get the win. Best writer for TV/media. No, I'm torn. I got Baymax, but then you got Two Good Birdies, The Pain Garden. Best writing in the feature. I have not watched Eternal Spring or Eno, but these movies do look wonderful. Best editorial for television media. Okay, wait, Amphibia's all in. Oh my gosh. No, because the part where Anne was powered up by the support for people and K-pop while fighting King Andreas, that was boss. And you also get a transition too of Sasha fighting Dark Marcy. It was insane. Then we get to the Jury Awards, which honors the unparalleled achievements and exceptional contributions to animation. The Worcester McKay Awards are the following: Pete Docter, Evelyn Lammart, and Craig McCracken. The June Foray Award will go to Mindy Johnson. I'm so sorry for butchering Ubs Iwerk's name in my last video, but the Ubs Iwerk Award goes to the visual reference platform initially developed by Nick Cannon and Francis Carvedevoni. And the Certificate of Merit Award is going to John Omohondor. Let's move over to the 95th Oscars for the Best Animated Features. So here are the nominees: Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. I am sorry to the Sea Beast fans, I did not watch this movie. However, this is the 4th time a Netflix movie got nominated in this category, so it's telling you something about Netflix and its projects, or it's just because they're a big studio. Either way, congrats on the nomination. I will say this right here. People were absolutely racist and also hated teenage girls when this movie came out, and all of y'all need to get your mind out of the gutters and see how great this movie is. I saw on the internet someone said that this movie was promoting birth controls because you see girls with patches on their arms. Sir, what are you thinking? Despite all of this, I just had a fun movie about a girl being in middle school, excelling in her classes, having fun with her friends, and enjoying a boy band, and all that changes when she experienced puberty. In Pixar fashion, she turns into a red panda to represent that. Do you know how much the impact would have been if people like me got to see this movie when we were going through puberty ourselves? Periods wouldn't be so scary to talk about. More importantly, it just showcases that it's normal, it's embarrassing, and more importantly, it does a lot of things to us to make us feel different, but it's all in the name of growing up. And this is what that movie is truly trying to showcase: being your own individual person. Animation is breathtaking. I love the colors. Also the showcasing of the food. Once again, she directed Bao. Of course, she takes a lot of care of that, along with showcasing the mother-daughter relationship and how that could even go past generations. Some of y'all don't know how to have fun. I think you should give Turning Red another chance. I had to go back to the theater twice to see how awesome this movie is. And if DreamWorks continue on with the direction that they are going, I think they're gonna make bigger and better movies like this. Getting to see the comeback of Puss in Boots after 11 years was completely not on my radar, but this movie came out and it showed me that awesome animation style, but more importantly, the absolute themes of facing your own mortality and death. That was absolutely something I did not expect them to pull. It surprised me to get to see some of the directions that they took in this movie, but more importantly with Perrito. He could have been such an annoying ass sidekick character, but he wasn't. It was even just sad or annoying. He's a tragic character and he always kept looking at the brighter side of things and being there for Puss in a vulnerable moment. Without going into too much detail about my personal life, that anxiety scene in the forest is something that I experienced a bit too often and nearly cry in the movie theater, and that's okay. It's okay to cry when an animated movie moves you, okay? If Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is a sign that DreamWorks are starting to kick things up a notch and get back to their roots, I hope there's more to come. I had no clue about Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I was like, this is this thing on YouTube, and I watched those videos and I thought, this is pretty charming. How is this type of content gonna last in the length of a movie? Of course, they expand Marcel's motives into bigger adventures and getting to seek out new things, and I think that's really cool. Some people may enjoy it, some don't. I thought it was a fine movie. I think the beauty of Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is showing that not all animated features have to have grand, big adventures to be considered entertaining. You can just enjoy the simple life of a shell in this giant home as he talks with this guy on behind the camera who documents his life. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I'm not talking about the Lionsgate Pinocchio, and I sure as hell am not talking about Disney's remake of Pinocchio. I'm talking about director of Shape of Water, Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I was able to see this movie at the Animationist Film Festival. Del Toro has stated in this interview about his inspirations of doing Pinocchio. He's been wanting to do Pinocchio for a very long time. Got to the point that the movie was going to be shelved because of the way that they had to fund it. I'm happy that it finally is out and Guillermo finally accomplished one of his biggest dreams. It's nothing like Disney's Pinocchio. It stays true to the original books of Pinocchio. Do I have to even praise the stop motion enough? If you go to look at behind the scenes, you get to see how these people, these puppeteers, actors if you will, took so much care into moving these characters, making them say things, sing things, express things in such ways that stop motion always amazed me every time I look at it. Again, I was surprised to hear that this was a musical, but the music had a nice touch to it. I also thought the Italian fascism was great. It was more of a background in the story, and I really would have loved to see more of that explored. I think this movie, if anything, showcases the beauty of animation and the multiple art forms that it takes. The best word I can describe for the animation style is beautifully haunting. There are certain scenes in there that definitely shake me, but I'm also amazed to see how they execute it with stop motion. And displaying the grief Geppetto goes through when he loses Carlo, to then making Pinocchio having a son once again, but he's not the son that you once had. This movie reminds me yet again the beauty of animation, but also stop motion as an art form. And I think this year really did showcase the wonders of stop motion. If Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio win, it'll be the second stop motion film that wins an Oscar since Wallace and Gromit's Curse of the Rare Rabbit. To me, I feel like Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio can definitely win this. I won't be upset if Turning Red wins, though it will still continue the Disney Pixar curse that goes on in the Oscars. I don't want to pick because it's a tie between Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. They're both still have that conversation of death and displaying it in beautiful storytelling and animation. Either way, we gotta admit 2022 was a really beautiful year for movies. That concludes me talking about the nominations from the Annie Awards and the Oscars. Since last year, I saw animation get basically thrown under the bus so fast by streaming services and the public, which was very disheartening to see. My heart is always so happy to get to tune into the Annie nominations because they remind me the importance of animation and how they're the only people and associations that truly care about animation. Tell me in the comments who you're excited for to win. Thank you for watching my video. This is Olivia, signing off.